Welcome to This Is Gaming. What we want to do today is go through the gaming industry and give it a big old report card grade.
We, as gaming luminaries, are going to give you our opinion on the gaming prowess of a variety of companies. So not all the companies we're going to talk about are purely gaming companies, but when we talk about them, we're talking about them from the gaming context.
I don't know about you, but I used to get the dreaded 17, code 17 on our report card, which was talks too much in class. And my mom would be like, stop that. And now I talk too much for a living online. Listen here, mommy. That was just practice for my future career.
Let's do rock, paper, scissors to decide who gets the first company. All right, let's go. Okay.
Right, ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Nintendo. Let's talk about it.
You're starting with Nintendo?
Yeah, because I've been holding it in for this video for far too long. Wow, these pens are not good and your handwriting is atrocious. That's not gonna, nope. Oh, that's why. It's not even that good of a huff. All right. I feel like Nintendo is speedrunning their way through proving me right. Have you been following Nintendo the past few weeks?
Well, I mean, it's hard not to with the Switch 2. Why?
The Switch 2, obviously a massive success. It sold out 1 billion of them in the first couple weeks.
That is true.
I won't argue that. I didn't think it would not be successful.
I mean, the Wii U also was a very popular console for 15 minutes, so.
Lately, I've been called a hater. I don't know why. I don't know why, but people have been calling me a hater lately. I live by a single philosophy when it comes to technology. The upgrade should not be worse. Losing OLED, people are having an absolute nightmare of a time with the virtual cards. But then, Twink Link. Someone names their character Twink Link, and then they permanently ban someone's account.
I agree that this is not good. It also is a little bit of an edge case, if I'm honest with you. Console bans have happened forever, and like, there's so many like dumb reasons for it. Like, I agree it's not great, but like, I do think Nintendo are getting a little extra flack for this at the moment.
Well, I feel like Nintendo just punishes people who try to love them. I'm also gonna ask, how long has Switch 2 been out now?
What, a month?
What first party game do we have for Switch a month after release?
Oh, it's a month, bro. Donkey Kong's coming soon. That's gonna be the next big one.
Our editor, Will, who's like the biggest Nintendo fanboy ever, came up to me 3 days after the launch and goes, I'm kind of over Mario Kart.
You cannot judge a console based on the first month of games.
I'm not judging
let's talk in a year.
I'm judging Nintendo at their current status in the current realm of the gaming industry. There's very few nice things I have to say about Nintendo at this current moment.
I will be more positive just because I feel like I need to balance out you here. I think that the Switch 2 is a very reasonable upgrade. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. I personally would rate Nintendo a B.
I feel like they're doubling down on this. I want us to give it a D.
So with the averages to a C?
So we had a gentleman's agreement.
Are you actually shaking my hand this time? Impressive.
Yes, we would average out our grades. So if I give it a D and he gives it a B, we agree.
It's a C.
A C.
Does that work?
You are.
It's not very good.
Good.
You get to draw the next one then.
All right. Well, you pick the next one.
I get to nominate Valve.
Valve.
So Valve has had a very, very interesting couple of years. People still don't fully appreciate how fucking weird Valve is. Valve has a tiny fraction of the employees of literally any other company on this list. They have an actual legitimate monopoly in the PC space, which I think most people can argue is maybe not a great thing. They do make hardware, which is phenomenally cool. I did not like the Steam Deck when it first came out. At this point, I am a Steam Deck gamer. I think that there's a lot that's great about Valve. I really do think that Steam is still a great place to play. And the fact that SteamOS has continued to improve. We have the Steam Deck. We also have third-party hardware like Legion Go S. But I will say that there's one thing I'm waiting for them to release a goddamn game lately. I know you make ungodly amounts of money on Steam. Could you just hire a couple more people and make some more games?
They do have a monopoly.
Yes.
Which historically is bad.
Not good.
But I think they do a really good job treating that monopoly responsibly.
I think a lot of people agree with that. But I always question, I think that's such a vibes-based kind of thing. So I'm just curious, why do you think they're responsible with Steam?
I think the fact that they're even encouraging a Steam sale, even if they don't set the prices, if there's no sales, they make way more money.
That Valve have single-handedly invented the idea of a sale. Okay,
no, bringing the Steam Deck out, I argue that has a more positive influence than the Switch does in the handheld market. The fact that they're like, you know what? Hey, you're our competitor. we don't care. Here's our great software on your hardware.
But they're making 30% of all the money.
Sure, yes.
What, like, of course they want everyone to sell stuff on Steam.
Right.
What?
Of course they are. But like, when you talk about the consumer, which is all that matters in this conversation, they're able to access their games on the way they want, on the hardware they want. It gives you better choice. There's so many things they could do to be a dick about all of this, and they're not doing that. There's way more examples from Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation of we're shutting off a digital game, you don't own it, stuff like that.
I like Valve. I think most people have a very positive sort of connotation with Valve. I just think that Valve get a little bit more of a pass on some things.
Of course they do.
30% of everything all the time. If you make the best thing and you're the most successful, I think that's fair.
I agree with you that they are doing this because they're making loads of money, stuff like that.
Yes.
But like, what negative thing are they doing?
The fact that they charge 30% for essentially just distributing your game is not great.
But who doesn't do that?
Epic charged 12%?
Yes, 30% is way more than 12%, but there is way more than 12% of a user base to make up for that.
Which is why games still land on Steam instead of Epic.
When we're talking about Apple and we're talking about Steam and stuff like that, you're not paying for the storefront, you're paying for the user base.
Valve feel like the sleeping giant here. I would actually give them an A, if I'm honest with you. All it takes is for Gaben to wake up on the wrong side of the bed one day, and gaming is cooked. We all love Valve, we all love Steam, and they do a lot of great stuff, but it just feels like they've gotten themselves in a position where no one takes them seriously enough. Let's just do straight A. Who are you going with next? I'm very curious.
Since you brought it up,
okay,
I'm gonna go with Microsoft. Because we've had this video idea for a while, and we keep pushing it back because we're like, what horrible thing has happened?
Yes.
Every weekend, it was like 1 billion more people got laid off. I'm gonna do this because you're terrible.
Thank you. Microsoft is really the 500-pound gorilla in the room of the gaming industry right now. I think it's been like that for a little while, but it definitely, when they purchased Activision, that's what I think really pushed it over the edge. And I think what we've seen is sort of two conflicting stories. There is the constant narrative that Xbox is dead. And I think that there's some validity to some of that. It clearly seems like the normal playbook has been ripped up and thrown away. Everything is an Xbox, cloud gaming, you've got it on ROG Ally, you've got it on a Meta Quest, and it definitely feels like there's a deprioritization of first-party hardware, especially because they've raised the prices. But on the other side, you can look at the huge piles of cash that they are actually making when it comes to companies such as Activision that they own now.
4 of the top 5 selling games in May were Xbox.
And like Game Pass, even though I do have the understanding that Game Pass is still probably not quite where they want it to be.
Not quite where they want it to be,
but still
also
successful.
The best month that it's ever had.
But to be fair, I think it is an extraordinarily fucking terrible look to be making more money than you ever have and also cutting thousands and thousands of jobs.
Yes.
Almost on a monthly basis now. They've basically gutted Turn 10. They shut down projects like Perfect Dark, unannounced things. To be fair, Sony is not that different here. It's not, maybe they haven't gotten quite
Sony's
so much flack.
Trying to do the same thing.
They've killed studios.
Yeah,
they've had like massive flops as well. We've heard that there are a number of first-party games that were killed in somewhat deep stages of development over the last couple of years. Sony have kept a little bit more under the radar, and one of the problems with Microsoft is that they have
when you have the highest profile studios,
they've done dumb things, and also they've done dumb things incredibly publicly.
Yes,
which I think has made that situation look worse. I don't think that Microsoft is in any danger of shutting down Xbox or shutting down gaming. Obviously, they've invested hugely.
I still wouldn't be surprised if Xbox goes away. I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years we're not talking about Xbox, we're talking about Microsoft Gaming. But I think
it's just a brand name.
Yeah, it's just a name, not a.
Yeah.
I don't have any facts or figures to back this up. This is purely a vibes question that I'm gonna ask people. I saw on LinkedIn, a couple of the people I know have been laid off like 3-4 times. I am curious how many of those layoffs, how many of these like, oh yeah, we shut down the studio. Did those people end up going to a different studio or not? The one that like hits me hard is Warcraft. Blizzard has been pretty bad about quality control for a long time, and that's like one of the biggest departments that got gut. And so it's like, oh wow, this game is just actively worse now because of that. With big acquisitions like this, it does make a lot of sense that a new studio doesn't need a whole sales team. It's just, oh, this is now just another IP that we have in there.
Correct. When you put all these under one umbrella and you're making ungodly amounts of money and you're firing all these people and taking all that investment and putting it into like AI, I just think that that's a bad look. I think we got to go pretty low on Microsoft, just because even though I think they will probably have a reasonable slate of games next year, and even though I don't think the Xbox brand is remotely dead and all these kind of things, but I think the optics are terrible. I think some of the strategy has been bad. I think there's a highly uncertain future for exactly what the future of Xbox is going to look like, I would vote C-.
I'm struggling with this.
Yeah.
Because I have 2 grades. Everything that you just said.
Yeah.
And I'd probably agree with you on the C-. But then, if I'm a gamer, you're fucking eating right now, guys. I know I gush about Game Pass, but like, bruh, Doom Dark Ages is on there day 1.
C- feels very fair. I feel like it's definitely below Nintendo.
I want to say B because
You're giving Nintendo a C because you don't like the way the Switch smells?
dude, as like just like a gamer, as like what I have access to, I want to give it an A.
But we're giving the company a report card. We're not just saying like, hey, who's released good games lately? So you're going B, I'm going C-, so that averages to a C then, right?
Yeah. If I was just an industry analyst, yeah, I'd be with you. Who taught you how to write?
Yeah, that is not a good C. Okay, I got one for you.
Yeah.
Apple. We're just pure talking about from the game context. I don't care about all the other stuff. I'm just talking about them as a game company. Some of the things I'm about to say also, I will freely admit, apply to just the mobile space. What the fuck is wrong with you? The mobile space makes a lot of money. And the problem is that I think most people can agree mobile gaming is huge. There are some success stories, I think, after years of lawsuits. A game like Fortnite is actually pretty much the full fat experience on mobile that it is on other platforms, but that is a rare case. It feels like mobile gaming right now is like going through BuzzFeed chum boxes all day. There's no incentive for anyone to break this wheel because Apple and Google are taking 30% of everything. So why would they break this? You know who doesn't win on this? Users, because you're playing freaking gambling apps and all this kind of like nonsense. And honestly,
just let me play the game that you actually showed.
You know who do not win in these scenarios? The developers. For a lot of mobile developers who are cranking out games, some of these companies spend upwards of 80 or even 90% of the revenue right back on user acquisition. Look, there's nothing against advertising. Obviously, we all are here because advertising exists. Imagine just the insanity of spending, in a lot of cases, more than you're making just because you're trying to sort of get a foothold.
Yeah.
It's such an insane business model. And that was why when I was talking about Valve and some of the things that worry me, I see some of the same sort of warning signs on Steam right now that I see on the Play Store and the App Store, because the way to get downloads is A, to pay a ton of money, run a bajillion ads, and B, use all those downloads to get you up the top chart so that you get more people on it. It is the intensification of this. And I think that Apple and Google are absolutely responsible. That's my rant. That's my thesis. It pisses me off.
I don't disagree with anything you just said.
And it should be good.
Coming back to Apple specifically,
Yep.
why I am going to give them a low grade is I've said this for years now. Every time we have like a WWDC or a new laptop launch, they talk about Metal and how much better it is. They have this amazing hardware, this amazing platform, a huge user base with their iPhones and stuff like that. And they're doing nothing with it. Because everyone's like, why? No one games on Apple. Well, yeah, because they're not, Apple's not incentivizing you to game on Apple.
The hardware is there. There is no reason on earth, besides greed, that you should not be able to play so many amazing games on your phone. But the problem is that to be remotely successful, you've got to go free to play. If Apple was serious, and I know they're not because they're making so much money, they do not want to sort of break this flywheel. They would actually invest way more into Apple Arcade, which is, in a lot of ways, what this should be. If they would bring in the Death Strandings and the Assassin's Creeds, you would see them actually make arcade not just like, oh, it's kind of decent, but phenomenal. It's such a no-brainer. Apple could do that, but they make so much money. I would say Apple get a D.
Here's my hot take. I would have given it an F.
No, do D minus?
I feel like at that point you just didn't. You failed. I'm not letting you write letters ever again. That's an O. Why is it curved? Why does it go to the left?
All right, you're up next, Ancini.
Let's go with PlayStation.
PlayStation is in an interesting spot. Over the last, I'd say maybe year or two, I've become a little bit more concerned about the health of PlayStation. You look at the big moves that Microsoft are making when it comes to owning all these studios and pushing Game Pass, and you look at what PlayStation are doing, and they're just kind of like running their little safe playbook, you know, the PS4, PS4 Pro, PS5, PS5 Pro, a decent amount of exclusives, but maybe not as many as we'd like to see. They're starting to put some games on PC.
What's exclusive anymore?
The PlayStation strategy, which I do think there's actually some real validity to, is that they will bring your games to PC after a few years. You'll be playing Spider-Man when the new Spider-Man comes out on PS5 or whatever. And so it's like, it's a way to kind of like make some money on these games that they've already made, like, you know, like Horizon and whatnot, but also a way to go, hey, you really enjoy this game? The sequel's coming out on PlayStation next month. Don't you want to play that? So I think the thing that is easy to forget is that Sony are kind of on a little island because Microsoft don't really care if you buy a game on Steam because they're making money on that, assuming it's a first-party game. They don't care if you play on Game Pass, you're going to play on PC. They're making money on almost every version of this sort of thing. PlayStation really needs you to buy a PlayStation piece of hardware and play an actual PlayStation game. If you're playing any game on another platform, whatever, they're not making any money on it.
Look how much they invested into trying to make Call of Duty exclusive to PlayStation.
I wanted to say that like PlayStation are in for like choppy waters for a long time, but also by that same token, it does feel like we're kind of in a little bit of a like sort of steady state in the gaming industry. You don't see a lot of crazy things happening.
I don't think there's anything wrong with PlayStation.
Safety. PS5 Pro probably not so much. I do think that was actually a little bit of a miss. They just feel like they're
PS
chilling.
Plus is, I think, the most whatever service ever. A super simple thing that they could do to raise that value a ton would be to add first-party games day one, the same way that Xbox does,
Well,
and they won't.
they're doing a small percent, but yeah, like generally speaking, they still want you to actually go out and buy it.
If I'm picking my platform of where I'm going to buy games from, it just, to me, it doesn't make sense to go with PlayStation anymore. Now, if you already have that big catalog, yeah, of course, but like, it just, what are they doing? Every time we talk about PlayStation versus Xbox, everyone's like, I get it for the games. I'm going to throw this back at you guys because you did this with Xbox forever. What games?
They got Stellar Blade.
Okay, maybe B minus.
I could give it a B. I think B feels fair. PlayStation is doing fine. There's nothing wrong with PlayStation. There are some sort of concerns about the future, but also it's healthy. They're selling a lot of PlayStation 5s. The PS6 is well underway. I hereby nominate Epic Games.
Epic!
First of all, there is for the games, which primarily would be Fortnite. Clearly one of the most successful games, not only of all time, but certainly one of the most successful games of the moment. Like, if you're not playing Fortnite, I think you can make the argument the same way that like, oh, if you don't watch Marvel movies, you don't know what's going on.
Now, I had said something back in 2018. Very happy to say that I am proving myself right.
Glad to hear it.
I said that Fortnite is going to turn into the Oasis from Ready Player One.
Obviously, they own other sort of things. I would say an equally important part of the Epic sort of business is the behind the scenes stuff. Epic Game Store, which is small and honestly still loses them a lot of money, but is still the only real competition to Steam on the PC. Unreal Engine is probably the sort of crown jewel in this whole thing. Unreal Engine is the engine that almost every game is being run on right now. But again, it's a lot of concentrated power.
If we were just talking about Fortnite, I'd give it an A. They lose so much money on the game store.
But they're doing that to try to build something which I think is good for gamers, which is competition to Steam.
No one wants another launcher. They want everything all in the same place.
Yeah, and which is why Steam is so powerful.
Right.
You look at Fortnite, which I think is successful and running well, maybe not growing that much anymore, but still like absolutely a juggernaut. You look at the Unreal Engine, which I think is slightly concerning that it is so dominant that almost everyone's giving up their own first-party engines. I would say Epic gets a B+. I think that they are generally doing a good job. They're kind of following the Valve playbook in some ways of they're trying to be the company that people have a warm fuzzy for. Like, hey, Epic Game Store, all these free things, fighting all these lawsuits with like Apple and like trying to like open up the app stores and stuff. I just think B+ feels pretty solid for Epic.
I'll give you B+. I would have gone with B. Oh my God, he's gonna write letters. Are you kidding me? All right, there's our rankings. Like, follow, subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you would give these companies a grade. Let us know what games you're playing, and text your mom and tell her I said hey.